What's going on, mi gente? It's Diego Montalvan back to talk about another conmebol nation right before the qualifiers. We are 2 days away, and today I got to talk about my country, about Peru, with my compa, Luis Miguel Echegaray from CBS Sports, host of Qué Golazo. Look at that. Look at that hat. Beautiful.
Arriba Perú. Vamos.
How you doing, Luis Miguel? How's everything?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. First of all, congratulations. I'm loving these little previews. They're excellent. You've had some excellent people that we love, that care about South America football, that care about the World Cup qualifiers and their respective countries. But obviously, my man, we have to obviously begin right here because, you know, there's nothing like Peru.
No, I absolutely agree. And you know what? There's been we have a lot of followers in common that have, for a long time, wanted me to do something with you. And I finally get the chance, and I'm going to enjoy this.
Let's enjoy it, brother. Before the sweat comes on Thursday, let's just enjoy it.
Nobody, nail biter like this.
Oh, man, forget about it. I think I might be getting divorced that day. I don't think my wife's going to be able to put up.
I think so too, honestly. Listen, let's get right into it. Qualifying campaign. How have you felt about Peru's qualifying campaign, and how would you grade it?
Yeah, listen, I mean, great question. I think it's in many ways a prototypical way of the journey of a Peruvian fan. You know, you have to struggle no matter what. Nothing's ever going to be easy. We're not Brazil. We're not Argentina. We're not even Uruguay, our next opponent. We are Peru, and we always suffer. And people need to remember, especially the younger fans, that the 2018 World Cup was great. It took 36 years to get there. And obviously, you know, we don't have the talent that all those aforementioned teams that I've just talked about have. But, you know, and then you add to the fact that, you know, in September, we were bottom of the table. You know, this was not looking good, especially after Copa America. We thought, well, this is it. Thank you. Muchas gracias, Ricardo Gareca. But, you know, you've done everything. You've squeezed the most gold that you can out of all these players, and we can't do it. But look where we are right now. Unbelievable. You know, in a intercontinental playoff spot, with still a chance to automatically qualify. So I have to really give it an A-, you know, just because we are in contention. And that's amazing to me, honestly.
See, that's the big thing for me. I feel like a lot of people underrate what Gareca has done. Sure, he's messed up along the way, like any normal coach would. But I think what he's gotten out of Peru is so big based on, like you mentioned, the talent pool that we have. And our league is honestly not great at all, if one of the worst, to be honest.
Yeah.
So for you, you already mentioned a little bit, we were bottom of the table in September. What was the key moment for you that changed that around?
I mean, I think it's a few things. I think when we look back at the World Cup qualifiers, well, first of all, I think that, you know, Copa America in many ways actually helped because it allowed us to keep on seeing what works, what's not working. And I think it was that turnaround in November. I think the November window was the key component, you know, where things started to make sense. And here's a facet, and I don't think it was a particular moment, but it was more about that we realized the biggest issue for us has been twofold. One of them has been the rotational inconsistency at the back, right? We've had to try and figure out what to do ever since players got older, you know, specifically in the center back situation, the over-reliance on, you know, years on Lucho Advíncula and Miguel Trauco. And I think now we're seeing that, you know, actually Marcos Lopez can play, right? Aldo Corso can play, right? If you Liverpool fans, I know you love Lucho Diaz. Any opponent that plays Lucho Diaz, just bring in Aldo Corso for the weekend and he'll get it sorted out, right? But Alex Callens, NYCFC's own very Alex Callens, being pretty much the most consistent player. Those things became a turnaround in those November matches. And that to me was massive. And then as we saw, you know, just the fact that we were able to get a win against a Colombia side that needed to get something at home, I think that was the determinant to me, because that proved that Ricardo Gareca got a victory out of a very difficult situation. We hardly ever win in Barranquilla the way that we did it, and making the most out of players like Edison Flores, you know, who, you know, hasn't been doing that great at DC United. Obviously, injuries are an issue, etc. But that's the magic of Ricardo Gareca. And it's important for everybody to remember this, non-Peruvian fans too, to your point. We don't have a league that can generate a lot of talent year after year. We don't have a lot of European-based Peruvians. You know, we don't have all these grandiose objectives that other countries have in South America. What Ricardo Gareca and his technical team has done these years has been incredible. And I dare say that it's one of the best achievements a manager has done anywhere. Forget just South America. And we keep forgetting that. And the fact that we are now in a position that we can still realistically do it is unbelievable.
Absolutely. Mentally, he's changed around that chip, right? That the players had, that we're not great, we're gonna go away and we're gonna lose. And if you just look at during his reign, how many times we've come out with away points, right? Speaking of that Colombia game, we were pinned back for a lot of the game.
Yeah.
One chance and we took it.
Boom.
For you, was there a game that we should have lost or vice versa, should have won?
Well, I was a little disappointed previously, right? Specifically in the game against Bolivia. I think that's a game where, listen, like the altitude is always going to be a problem, like hands down. Like it's not going to be, but we know that. Like it's something that is already accustomed in South America. You know, there are certain calendar dates that you're looking to from a weather perspective, a climate perspective, and you think, all right, let's embrace. La Paz is one of them. The heat in Barranquilla is another one. Quito, of course. So there were moments I think that we really should have done more as well. Specifically think as well at the very early stages of the campaign, you know, and home matches, because at home is always going to be the place where we really should be getting the most out of everything. I think the Paraguay game, we could have done more as well. Paraguay is also in a transitional period and they're not, you know, with all due respect, that much higher than us in terms of talent. I mean, it's already been proven in the table itself. But again, you have to go back to the fact that we don't have, we don't have this pool that we can rely on all the time, specifically up front. For many months, we were questioning, what are we going to do after Paulo Guerrero? And in comes, of course, Gianluca Lapadula, thank God. And Santiago Ormeño has been developing even more, thank God for that. But we don't have all this talent. So there are fixtures that we could have won and we could have done better. I mentioned, of course, Paraguay, and I mentioned, of course, Bolivia. But the fact that we had to then overturn it with wins against Colombia, etc., just says so much about this national team. I do worry a little bit about, obviously, Uruguay, not a little bit, a lot. I'm sure it'll be a lot by the time we get there. I'm confident that hopefully we are smart enough and collective enough to understand that all we need to do is just don't break down. I kind of compare it a little bit to that game when we played Argentina in the 2018 World Cup qualifiers. And when Argentina needed something and we held on for dear life, I don't think it's going to be as bad. We just need to be very smart, especially off the ball.
I remember that game. Pedro Galese had an amazing game.
He was incredible in that game.
Amazing game.
Yeah.
Oof. I mean,
Yeah.
Galese has been great, even with Orlando.
Yep.
For you, has there been one standout player?
I go back to Alex Callens. I think we have to give him a lot of credit. He was a little iffy against Ecuador. It was his mistake in the opening goal, I believe. But listen, this is a player that I remember interviewing him when he first moved to NYCFC, and he was nowhere near the thinking of Ricardo Gareca. He was nowhere near the lineup roster choices, and he's fought hard ever since to be recognized. And he was great at Copa America. He was very, very good at the beginning stages after that as well. And he's had more productive performances than negative ones. So he would be one of them. I think the other part as well, and it's funny because I think it's often underappreciated as well, I think, but the work, every time Andre Carrillo gets the ball, it's a possibility of magic. And we have to never underestimate that. And yes, he sometimes is a little erratic and he wants to do too many things and he loses the ball. But I think his development, and it worried me when he, went to the Middle East, because, we always don't know that much about that league, but the things that he does when he's on the pitch, the attention that he demands from the opponent has been so serviceable. So, Alex Callens would be number one to me, but players like Carrillo, Christian Cueva, and what they can do in certain moments have been massive. And of course, we got to talk about Gianluca Lapadula. I mean, this man is a king, an absolute king. A spaghetti taku king, and I love him so much. And it's funny because he would totally probably get a lot of votes for presidency.
It's funny. He just got back into the country. For you guys that don't know, every time he's gone into the country, something big has happened in the government, in Peru's government. Someone's either resigned or whatever. So yeah, who knows? Who knows? Maybe Gianluca will be president by the time these pictures are over. I don't know. But I have to agree with you. I mean, I was worried as well when Carrillo and Cueva went to the Middle East, but we both seen they're playing regularly, they're happy, they're loved. And I guess overall, that's what matters, at least to them, because we see it on the pitch. Cueva and Carrillo are producing magic, or they have that opportunity of producing magic whenever they're on the ball. I mean, look at that goal against Colombia. Cueva made that run, and that
absolutely
ball to Flores
was beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. Which worries me a little bit, Diego, about Yotun, right? Obviously, he's just signed with Sporting Cristal, so that's good and everything. But like the lack of minutes that he has faced, look, I have no doubt that they'll be ready. And it's always a tale whenever a player that's not producing that much, and not even Peru, not producing that much internationally, they enter the national team and they become somebody else. That's so true with Peru and Ricardo Gareca. Like, he transforms them. I literally just had an interview with Norberto Solano, which you can read and watch, who's now obviously the assistant coach. And he says that it's like when these players come to us, they transform themselves, because Ricardo Gareca has this system and this philosophy that just nurtures just how much a player can do for the national team. And by the way, we've been together for what, 8 years now since Gareca. Like, this is a family, and that will mean a lot.
Oh, absolutely. What do you think? Obviously, there's a chance that Ricardo Gareca doesn't stay on past this World Cup, whether we go or not.
Yeah.
Besides that, what do you think needs to change for this selección?
I think you brought it up earlier enough, which is the domestic league needs to improve, because we can't just rely on a magician of a manager to get the best out of people. We need to have an actual funnel system where we're like creating and developing young talent over and over again. We're seeing it every now and again. I think Alex Varela is a really good player. Obviously, Marcos Lopez coming from there and then moving to MLS, etc. So we are seeing it, but it's more an anomaly as opposed to like, yeah, this is what's going to happen. We don't have the Argentinian division or the Brazilian or even Uruguayan. So I think we need to do that. The second part, it's a good question, because I want more Europe-based players. I want the entire globe to see just how good Peruvian players can be. We've always said this, right? Pedro Galese never playing in Europe is an absolute insult. So I want that kind of development as well. And, again, I was talking to Solano about this, and to me, it's important that the next person that takes over, because it will happen inevitably, needs to either continue what you said, which is like, for many years, Peruvian players have always been like, we can't, it can't happen. We will never do it. He transformed that. Whoever comes in next needs to be that kind of manager. Give the confidence to the Peruvian player, especially the young Peruvian player, right? This is where Renato Tapia is where he's at, because he's developed with Ricardo Gareca and he's always felt, I can do it. So hopefully that will happen. But multiple things need to happen in order for the Peruvian national team to keep going, because we're not always going to have the magician that is Gareca.
Very true. Very true. I mean, there's a lot to be done in Peru. Obviously, like you said, the league, the whole federation, organization, many things. But now on to the two games this week. Uruguay in Montevideo, Paraguay in Lima. How do you feel about these games? What do you think? I mean, obviously, we still have it all in our hands. But man, it's nerve-wracking, to be honest.
I'm so nervous. I don't listen. I mean, it's obvious, right? Playing away in Montevideo against Uruguay, you know, one of the most successful South American nations. I think they did the best out of any South American nation in 2018. They got the furthest, I believe. This is, you know, it's funny because obviously it's a new transition because of Diego Alonso, who's done very well since he just entered and took over Oscar Tavares. And we obviously know about Lucho Suarez, Edison Cavani, Bentancur, who now plays for, you know, Tottenham. There's talent everywhere. There's no doubt. But from what I have seen away from home in this window, we can get something out of it. You know, I do believe that. We just have to be smart. And one of the biggest issues with Peru a lot of the time is when we have the ball, sometimes we become a little erratic. And I want to make sure that we never concede a goal like the one we conceded against Ecuador, where it just went over Callens. He misstepped his timing. That could happen with Uruguay. So you know what you're going to get from Uruguay. Garra charrúa, they're going to pressure, they're going to push. They're not happy that they're fourth. They don't want that. They want to keep on climbing, right? So we have to make sure that we're ready for that. If we can calm the stadium down after 15 minutes, then I'm feeling good. But yeah, I'm nervous, man. The home game to Paraguay, hopefully, you know, that will be a victory. With all due respect, Paraguay is essentially done. So, you know, hopefully that can happen. But, you know, I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm also going to be because the thing is, all these games are at the same time. Yeah, what the hell, man? So I'm going to be also looking at like Brazil, Chile. Like, I'm going to be the biggest Brazilian fan there ever was. Colombia, who's in a rot right now. So there's a lot going on. I mean, what do you think? How do you see the Uruguay game? Because that's obviously on paper, that's very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. We have to stay solid and we have to stay composed, at least for the first, like you said, 15, 20 minutes. I also think that we need to stay focused. I feel like there's sometimes lapses in concentration, and that's where Peru messes up. You know, those little lapses. I believe that we'll have chances. I believe we'll have opportunities. The thing is also take the shot. I know we love to play with our feet and, you know, 1-2, 1-2.
And go inside the box.
And go inside the box. Yeah. But sometimes we need to take the shot. We've seen Sergio Peña take shots from outside and he scored. Yeah. We've seen Renato Tapia try from outside. Maybe he hasn't scored, but try. Just you have to try. What I'm also worried about is, you mentioned La Garra Charrúa. I was thinking, man, if I'm Uruguay, I'm thinking about Gianluca Lapadula's nose.
Yeah.
You're going to, you know, try to get him out the game.
Yeah.
And that could be a problem. But, I mean, we've seen Lapadula will give his all for this.
I was going to say, you're going to have to remove his nose like Mr. Potato Head in order for him not to keep on playing, because he's going to keep on going. But we can't disregard the scores that Diego Alonso has done since that, you know, 3-0 loss to Bolivia, right? That they beat Paraguay 1-0, and then they beat Venezuela 4-1. Granted, not the toughest opponent, so this would be a new challenge for them, but equally we have to do the same. And the formation and the lineup is the intriguing part as well. I wonder what's going to happen there. I mean, we saw Carlos Zambrano and Lucho Advíncula, you know, playing for Boca Juniors, winning the Super Clásico. That's great confidence, you know. But so what does Gareca do? Does he stick, you know, with that traditional four with Advíncula on one side, and then obviously, and then the other side, right? Trauco, Lopez, and then, you know, who's in the center back pairing stuff. So there's a lot to think about, and the midfield, of course. But I have no doubt, and to your point, we can't let any mental lapses. So it's going to be an intriguing matchup for sure.
Another thing that I was thinking about, as you mentioned, all these games are at the same time. I was thinking
that kills me, man.
It kills me because what if, for example, Colombia scores within the first 10 minutes?
Yeah, I'm shitting myself.
Peru, Uruguay, everyone's like, you know, because everyone's going to communicate, or they're going to be on the radio listening, the assistant coaches, and you're going to know, oh my God, Colombia scored. Now we need to like hurry up, and it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, hopefully, and that's a really good point, because the psychological thing, hopefully Ricardo Gareca is saying, like, I don't care what happens anywhere, just focus on what you have to do. So I have confidence in that. But, you know, just to remind everybody, to your point, I mean, you know, Brazil playing Chile, that's big. Colombia against Bolivia, you would expect Colombia to win that, but Bolivia are not, you know, they're no joke, right? They fought hard. They're 8th, and you know, they have this tiny minuscule chance of getting 5th because they're only 15 points. So, you know, they're still 6 points up for grabs. I mean, I doubt it. It's almost impossible because the goal differential on Peru as well. But I don't know, man. It's gonna be. I hate the fact that they're all at the same time.
You gotta love the fact though that the conmebol qualifiers, and they're based on the table, based on what we're talking about, they're showing why to me, they're the best in the world.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I mean, listen, every time I, hear a Qué Golazo on CBS Sports and we talk about European qualifiers and all that stuff, I'm just like, or CONCACAF, like with all due respect, it's like, look, it's difficult, but you try, and because people don't forget, it's not just about the opposition, it's the environment that makes it so ridiculous.
Oh.
I would love to, just wait until you watch the home crowds for these final games. I mean, Argentina's already qualified, but are home to Venezuela, and Colombia, I'm sure it's going to be absolutely rocking against Bolivia. And how about, the Peruvian government, I believe, allowing a maximum crowd for the game against Paraguay. Things like that are going to matter. And I dare say that can't be replicated anywhere in the world. It's just going to be crazy.
I can't wait, man. 2 more days.
I'm so nervous.
And we'll be biting our nails on our couches.
I know.
Yeah, Luis Miguel, again, thank you so much for your time. I want to give you the floor to, last comment. Let people know where they can see or read that interview that you did with Norberto Solano and where they can find you.
Yeah, well, thank you, brother. And well done on this. Keep it up. I love seeing La Cultura keep rising. Paisano keep doing their thing. I love it. I love it. Yeah, you can just follow me on LM Echegaray on Twitter, CBS Sports. Of course, Qué Golazo is our podcast and YouTube show. And we got a great interview with Norberto Solano. And just so people know, like, I'm Peruvian, but I moved to England when I was 11. And it was difficult for a while because, there are not many Peruvians in England. My own identity and the search for it was tough. And when I was a junior in high school, Norberto Solano moved to Newcastle. He was the first Peruvian to ever play in the Premier League. And that meant a lot to me because it was seeing myself in him on the screen. So we talk about that. We talk about his career. We talk about living in Newcastle. We talk about the Peruvian national team, his hopes for these 2 windows, just everything that he thinks about Ricardo Gareca, which is unbelievable. It's a great interview, and you can read it too. So I recommend that everybody reads and watches it.
Well, you guys heard it here. Norberto Solano interview with Luis Miguel Echegaray. Don't miss it.
In Spanish and English, by the way. He talks in Spanish at the beginning, and then we switch it to English. It's amazing.
In Spanish and English. So, guys, please check that out because I'm sure it's got a lot of good stuff in there, like Luis Miguel already mentioned. So, thank you guys once again. We had another one here with Peru. We got 9 more nations that we're covering. Look at that, Mundialistas. I hope we see that again on Wednesday. I hope we see that again. But thank you, guys. This is Diego Montalvan. I'm out. Please comment, like, and subscribe.
Arriba Perú.